It started with the small things. Things you dismiss because you think you're going crazy or just tired. I'd come home from work and find the milk carton sitting on the counter, warm. I live alone. I know I put it back in the fridge. I told myself I was forgetful. Then it was the toilet seat. I'm a woman. I never leave the seat up. But one Tuesday morning, there it was, lifted. I blamed the old plumbing, maybe the draft. It sounds stupid now. The nights were the worst. I'd be lying in bed, staring at the ceiling, and I'd hear shifting. Above me, just a soft creak of a floorboard, like weight being carefully redistributed. My house is old, it settles. That's what I said. It's just the house settling. 2 weeks ago, I woke up at 3 a.m. The house was dead, silent. But I felt a draft. The air was cold. I walked out into the hallway and saw the attic hatch. The square panel in the ceiling. It was slightly askew, just an inch. I grabbed a broom, my heart hammering in my throat, and pushed it back into place. I convinced myself it was the wind. Last night, I set up my laptop webcam in the kitchen before I went to sleep. I wanted to prove to myself I was paranoid. I checked the footage this morning. At 2:14 a.m., the footage shows the hallway. The attic hatch slowly slides open. A pair of legs drops down, bare feet, dirty grey skin. A man. He's thin, like a skeleton wrapped in rags. He drops silently to the floor. He doesn't look around. He knows exactly where he is. He walks straight to my fridge, drinks from the carton, and then he stops. He turns his head and looks directly down the hallway towards my bedroom door. He stands there for an hour, just staring at my door. Then he climbs back up. I'm at a hotel now. The police are at my house. They found a sleeping bag, food wrappers, and a jar of urine in the crawl space above my room. And they found a hole drilled through the plaster, looking right down onto my bed. He wasn't just stealing food. He was watching me sleep. Every single night. You know that feeling of being completely, totally safe in your own home at night? That sense of peace you just can't find anywhere else? Yeah, I used to have that. Not anymore. For the past few weeks, that peace has been shattered. It started small, a weird reflection in the window that I'd just write off as a trick of the light. But the feeling of being watched, it just kept getting stronger, like a physical weight in the darkness on the other side of the glass. Tonight, I finally saw his face, and he knows I saw him. It all began about 3 weeks ago. I live by myself in a little house at the end of a quiet cul-de-sac. My backyard is my favorite part. It's private, facing a thick patch of woods. My living room has this huge picture window that looks right out into it. One night, I was watching TV and caught this flicker of movement in the reflection. I looked up and nothing. I told myself it was just my own reflection, you know? Your brain does that. It's some leftover survival instinct that would rather make you paranoid than let you miss a real threat. I just shrugged it off. A few nights later, it happened again. Only this time, it wasn't just a flicker. It looked like two faint, pale ovals in the glass, right where the yard gets really dark. It looked like eyes. My heart started pounding, and I went right up to the window, staring out into the yard. Nothing. Just the swaying shapes of the trees. I even flipped on the porch light, flooding the whole garden. It was empty. I actually laughed at myself, feeling like an idiot. I've been watching way too many true crime shows before bed, and my mind was just playing tricks on me. But the feeling didn't just go away. It got worse. That prickling on the back of my neck, the sense that someone was looking at me, started happening even during the day while I was doing the dishes. I kept turning to the window, half expecting to see a face. Those reflective eyes became a regular thing in the evenings, always in the same spot, just outside the reach of the porch light. I started to think maybe it wasn't a trick of the light. I was getting convinced it was a person. I started trying to be careful. I kept the blinds down, but somehow that felt worse. Not knowing if he was still out there was almost more terrifying than seeing that faint shape. My dog, a beagle who usually barks if a leaf blows by the wrong way, didn't seem to notice anything, which honestly just made me question my own sanity. Was I really just becoming this paranoid? Then little things started happening outside. A garden gnome my sister bought me as a gag gift was moved to the other side of the yard. I found one muddy footprint on the stone path by the window, way bigger than my own shoe. I tried to find a rational explanation for everything. Maybe it was a delivery guy cutting through the yard. But the explanations were starting to feel pretty thin. Tonight felt different. The air in the house was just heavy. All the normal creaks and groans of the house settling at night were gone. The only things I could hear were the quiet hum of my fridge and the frantic thumping of my own heart. I decided to leave the blinds open. I had to know. I sat on my couch, pretending to watch a movie, but my eyes just kept darting back to the window. For hours, nothing. Just blackness. I actually started to relax, thinking I'd finally managed to scare myself into a full-blown delusion. And that's when I saw it. It wasn't a reflection this time. A face pressed right up against the glass, so close that his breath was fogging up the pane. It was pale, and his eyes were wide and just blank. They stared right through the window, right at me. There was no emotion on his face, not anger, not even curiosity. Just this empty, hollow stare. He wasn't hiding in the shadows anymore. He was on my porch, with his hands cupped around his face, peering into my living room. The worst part wasn't just seeing him there. It was the slow, awful smile that spread across his face when he realized I'd seen him. He wanted me to see him. I didn't scream. I couldn't. The sound was just stuck in my throat, completely choked off by pure terror. We just stared at each other for what felt like an eternity, though it was probably only a few seconds. Then, just as slowly as he'd appeared, he pulled back and vanished into the dark. He was gone. I scrambled for my phone, my fingers shaking so badly I could barely unlock it. I called 911, and my voice was just a broken whisper trying to explain what happened. By the time the cops got here, there was no sign of him. They swept the yard with their flashlights and found nothing but that same muddy footprint and the little circle of condensation on the window glass where his face had been. The police told me all the usual things. Keep your doors and windows locked. get some motion sensor lights. I've done all of that. But it doesn't help. That feeling of being safe in my own house is gone forever. It's shattered. Because this wasn't some random person trying to get in. He was watching me, learning my life from just outside the window. The locks and lights almost feel like a joke. He's not trying to get in. He just wants me to know that he's there. And the most terrifying part is that I have no idea what he wants, or when I'll look up and see his face pressed against the glass again. If you've ever had a creepy encounter like this, I'd honestly love to hear about it in the comments. It really does help to know you're not the only one.